My name is Juliet. I am 28 years old. This summer, my husband Pascal and I started renovating our apartment. The renovation was going to be serious. Completely change the flooring, plaster the walls, and install a new bathroom. It would take at least the whole summer. Then Pascal's friend, Michael Pierre, offered to let us stay at his cottage while the repairs were being done. His two-story house had plenty of space and a beautiful garden. Naturally, we agreed. Moving out of the city to such a quiet place seemed like the perfect way to escape from the noise and chaos of our usual routine. The country house turned out to be very nice. I especially liked the fireplace on the second floor. It was so cozy to sit by it in the evenings and watch the flames dance. The garden was lush, with fresh flowers and a small fountain that gurgled quietly, creating an idyllic atmosphere. We packed up and moved into the house. Pascal traveled to the city every day for work, leaving me alone at the cottage. It was boring at first. I had no friends or acquaintances nearby, and the isolation seemed strange. I spent my time walking around the garden, reading books, and trying to occupy myself. In time, I began to appreciate the solitude and the opportunity to take a break from our usual fast-paced life. Then Michael Pierre's son Cyril arrived. He was 22 years old, a stylish young man driving an expensive car. Clearly spoiled by his father's money, but there was something undeniably appealing about him. His presence brought a new energy to the house, and I caught his furtive glances. At first, I pretended not to notice, but I soon found myself sneaking glances at him too. There was a confidence in him that was both annoying and attractive. Cyril began to show me small signs of attention. A flower left on the table in the morning, a casual compliment that lingered in my mind longer than it should have. Nothing overt, but enough to make me feel noticed and appreciated. Pascal, meanwhile, was busy working and renovating, barely noticing my mood and the small changes in my surroundings. One evening we all gathered for dinner. Pascal, Michael Pierre, Cyril, and me. The meal was filled with laughter and conversation. Michael Pierre's funny stories made us all laugh, and the wine flowed. It was one of those rare moments when everything around you seems light and joyful. Eventually, everyone went to bed. Pascal, exhausted from work, fell asleep almost immediately. I, on the other hand, couldn't fall asleep. The warmth of the wine and the energy of the evening still lingered. I went down to the kitchen to make some coffee. As I stirred my coffee, I suddenly felt someone standing behind me, arms wrapped around me, and when I turned around, Cyril was standing there. Before I could react, he kissed me. At first, I wanted to push him away, but his hands, his lips, his whispered words, I was lost. Right there in the kitchen, where anyone could have walked in, something passionate and forbidden erupted between us. It was wild, reckless, and completely insane. My heart was pounding with fear and delight. We were startled by footsteps on the stairs. Michael Pierre came down for a glass of water. I froze with a pounding heart as Cyril quickly stepped aside. I grabbed my coffee cup and hurried back to the bedroom, my heart still pounding in my chest. I lay awake next to Pascal all night, racked with guilt and confusion over what had just happened and what it meant. I realized I was risking everything, my marriage, my life with Pascal. But I couldn't stop. Cyril's presence was like a magnet pulling me toward something dangerous but irresistible. For 2 weeks, Cyril and I continued our madness. We found moments to steal kisses, exchange long looks, and whisper things we shouldn't have. Each encounter was like walking a tightrope, exhilarating and terrifying at the same time. Then he left on business to another city, and the house was empty without him. I was alone with my guilt and fear. Every time Pascal held me, I wanted to cry and confess everything. I felt like I was living a double life, torn between my responsibilities and my desires. 6 months have passed since then. We returned to our apartment. Life has returned to its usual rhythm, although I still feel echoes of those summer days. Cyril occasionally texts me on social media, but I don't respond. It's too dangerous, too scary. The thought of jeopardizing everything we've built is unbearable, though part of me still craves the thrill of the moments we shared. You know what I've realized. It's better to live quietly and honestly than to constantly look over your shoulder for fear of exposure. The weight of guilt and the constant fear of being discovered is not worth it. I may seem wise now, but back then I completely lost my head. Even now, I'm not sure I would have made the right choice if I could have turned back time. Life is complicated, and the lines between right and wrong often blur in ways you don't expect. All I can do is move forward and try to learn from my mistakes. Hakes.